This conference will now be recorded.
There, I was just going to ask that question, either Aaron or Roy. The regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Lago Vista, Texas on June the 10th, 2021. And this evening, we have Commissioners Lee Davis, John Monroe, Richard Brown, Charles Solomon, and I do not see Commissioner Hagler. I'll put a question mark next to him. And I know that Tom Monahan is trying to resolve a computer issue that he's having. So we'll see if he can join us. Tom is our vice chair. And of course, I'm Gary Zaleski, chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Did I overlook Richard Brown? I certainly hope not. Oh, there's Tom. Tom's joined us.
Can you hear me, Jay?
Hear you just fine, Tom.
Okay. My computer decided to reboot just as I was signing in.
Well,
I'm glad I'm not the only one that has computer problems.
Okay.
Joining us also this evening, our city attorney, Aaron Silvera, Roy Jambor, our director of development, and always an honor to have our city council representative and liaison, David Williams. David, hope you're doing fine tonight.
Doing great.
The first item that we'll just go ahead and cover is if there are any citizen comments for non-agenda items in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The commission's prohibited from acting or discussing other than factual responses to specific questions, any items not on the agenda. Are there any non-agenda related items that anybody would like to comment? It doesn't appear to be. And I may have a scheduling issue later on in this particular meeting. And so I have asked our vice chair, Tom Monahan, to chair this evening's meeting. And without any further ado, let's give it up for Tom. Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate you doing that this evening. I would hate to have to leave kind of unexpectedly, and when I do, I'll let somebody know, but I wouldn't want to have to bow out. So,
All right. So, trying to get organized here while I do, but I guess agenda item 1 is a public hearing and action for agenda item 21-1826-SP-E, consideration of a special exception application pursuant to Chapter 1160, 16, to allow a increase from 15 feet to 17.3 feet at 21201 Santa Carlo Avenue. And I guess first question I would have is, has anyone on the commission not seen this property? Okay, pass that. All right, so Roy, do you want to chime in? And
yes, sir. Just very briefly, this is a short block in Lago Vista that until recently didn't have a lot of activity, but for the last couple of years, there's been a lot of houses built on it. Even though you would you wonder why the street was oriented the way it was, because if it were turned 90 degrees, there would have been some pretty good views of the lake, but they didn't for whatever reason. And as a result, most of the views would be either from the side of your house or better yet, standing in the middle of the street. It seemed to be the best view. As a result, it kind of emphasizes the importance with all the recent development. Context becomes a suddenly more important issue. But the request is fairly modest and not out of line with what's there. My big gripe has been and is getting to be consistent with the idea that we're getting prototype drawings as opposed to drawings that accurately reflect what they're going to build. You may remember these guys often give us one with an optional second floor that we don't know whether it's there or it's not. This time they mirror imaged the site plan to save some trees. And they didn't bother correcting any of the other drawings. And in this case, they gave us building elevations with an awful lot of masonry. Not that that's that important, but it appears as if they have an intent to use quite a bit less. This very much reminds me of the rut we got into with ridgepole. The ordinance asks them to do accurate drawings. It seems like people aren't taking that seriously very much these days.
I think we need to ask people to mute their microphones while others are speaking.
I was done, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Does anyone have questions of Roy? I guess I have one. I I read the technical summary and the problems with drawings and all, and and we don't know as much detail as we should, I guess. But
well, yeah, it's not. To be honest with you, this time it's less relevant than it normally is.
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
For a height approval purposes, some of those missing things, I guess, doesn't really come into play for us. In architectural context is more, does the height request fit into the overall architectural context?
You're absolutely correct. And like I said, in the past, it's often been, misleading, related to the height and things like that. But this time, none of those things are particularly relevant. It's just, like I said, it's more of a practical issue is, where do we draw the line? And it has been relevant in the past where we get to guess right up until the time of the meeting whether it has a second floor or not.
Uh-huh.
They don't even bother marking in red what's no longer accurate.
So the house that's depicted in the packet is not the house they're building?
The things that are incorrect is that there's an awful lot of masonry that apparently won't be there. Exactly how much, I can't be sure. The other thing is that what you're looking at is a mirror image. All the other drawings are a mirror image of what the site plan shows. And it appears as if the site plan were flipped in order to save an extra tree, which, that's a good thing, but if you're drawing in CAD and these are CAD drawings, you're not talking about a whole lot of effort to give us the accurate drawings that the ordinance asks for.
Okay.
I said, in this case, there's not a single thing relevant about that. It's just, it seems like that's where we started with the ridge poles too,
Right. Does anybody else have any questions of Roy?
I do have a question. I actually live kind of catty corner from where that site's being built. Is there a reason why they're pushing the increase? Is it for us?
Sure. I was asking of the commission itself. You'll have a chance at public comment, public
Okay.
hearing. Okay, any commissioners? I'm sorry, any commissioners? Questions? I don't think anybody does.
I get, Tom, I was just going to ask Roy, those exceptions that you have in there, just kind of echo what Tom's saying. Whether we approve or disapprove this additional height is really irrelevant to what has to be done in terms of the construction of the home. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. None of these errors, unlike last month, where you had an inconsistency that might have misled you, none of these have anything to do with the height or the appearance of height in the house.
Thank you, Roy.
Okay. All right, is the applicant or representative here to give any additional insight?
Yeah, this is Brian Smith with Caledonia Builders. I'm not on the Zoom, but I am on the call. Yeah, we're submitting for a height variance of 2.3 up to 7.3. It is beyond the 15 feet. And the main reason for that, and if you notice, if you guys have looked at the drawings, is really the entry. The rest of the roof is not 17 foot, over 17 feet. The rest of the roof is at like 15.6. Though it's irrelevant because I have to ask for a variance anyways, but it's just the center of the roof and it's only for architectural value on the front of the home. And that's all we're asking for is for the height variances for the architectural elements of the front.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant or the representative from the commission? Commissioners?
I guess I have a question, and it goes back to some of the issues that Roy has pointed out in the staff report. Wanted to know if the caller, I believe it's Mr. Smith, do you have, were you aware of some of those issues that the development director has mentioned this evening?
Yeah, and just like the last time that I was on the call, he mentioned that when we submitted for the residential application for construction, we included and made sure everything was there based on knowing that we could build the home. And so that's, why we're here tonight is to see if we, if the height variance is approved, and then we'll revise the drawings to match, what we're going to submit for review for a construction application.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I guess I have one. It might be maybe for Roy or for Aaron. Is it appropriate that if we were to approve, it would be contingent upon those revised plans being submitted to the development director?
That is certainly a valid condition.
And it's appropriate to have that in the motion?
Definitely.
If you choose, yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, Tom, I have one, please.
Richard?
My question follows on Gary's question about making the approval be contingent or whatever. Why don't we just postpone it for a month until the builder can provide those drawings, and then we can see them as well? Perhaps the builder will be incentivized to actually treat the process with the sort of interest that we do and that we would like to see him do, so that the approval process for us and for the neighborhood. We'll give everyone an opportunity to see what will actually be built instead of something that looks like it got clipped out of a catalog. Thank you.
Tom, are we in discussion amongst the commission, or?
Not yet. We got to have the public hearing first. So I guess we'll table next.
I'll just refer, or back to Richard's point. If we make it contingent upon approval of the plans, that accomplishes the same thing without putting this back on our agenda a month from now.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it some more here, get through the public hearing, then we'll have a discussion.
Thank you, Tom.
So at this time, it's 7:18 and we'll open the public hearing. So if anyone has comments, I think, was it John B. that was commenting earlier, and asked him to wait till then. Could you please state your name and address, please, before your comments?
Sure. My name is John Boggs. My address is 21204 Santa Rosa Avenue.
Okay.
My question is that with this being just for aesthetic purposes of the look of the house, can it not be achieved building at the 15 feet requirement that all the other homes around have?
Is that a question for the applicant?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think the point is not to look like every other home or, in the neighborhood. Otherwise, every home would look the same. And so we're trying to add some architectural elements to our homes without, going crazy above, the height variances. If it was any other lot, obviously that had 18 feet, we wouldn't even be on this call. So we're doing everything we can. All of our new collection is all under 18 feet. It just so happens this particular lot's 15. We feel like taking that roof off the front would diminish the whole architectural value of the home. And I just think that, everyone in a community wants homes that look good. It helps everybody out. And we're not asking for 8 feet or 10 feet. And it's only the center roof in the front. It's not the whole roof.
Okay. And I would reply to Mr. Boggs in that, we're here to evaluate the additional height and if it's going to impact anybody's views, which we'll be discussing here after we close the public hearing as to where we're at. But that's really what we're here for, is evaluating if there's any impact on views. Is there any significant detriment to the architectural context of the area with respect to that increased height request? So that's what we're charged with doing with these height exceptions. So are there any other comments from the public?
Yes, my name is James. I'm at 21206 Santa Rosa.
Okay.
Yeah, just a few things. I mean, this property, it's not in keeping with the rest of the area. It looks more like a property that would be on American Drive. So I don't really feel it's appropriate to be situated there. And secondly, I sit right behind this property, and we sit to have breakfast every morning. We can see the trees over the back on the hill. This elevation is going to take that out, and we're not even considering, I don't know how deep the footings are going to be, but that's going to put this property even higher if the next door ones anything to go by, because the foundations there are about 3 or 4 feet high, so that would put this thing over 20 feet.
Okay, well, the height exception, the base for the height is based on the high point of the lot. So it's not measured from the ground up, it's measured from the high point of the lot to the ridge line of the roof.
Right, but it's just going to make it's going to make our view even more obstructed.
Okay,
So because that house is going to be sat back, we're just going to have very little. It's going to definitely impinge on our views.
okay. Richard, would you like to respond?
I would like to add, well, I would like to respond two things to Mr. Baston's comments. One is this high point of this roof is a very limited part of the whole structure. And the other thing is you should enjoy the view of those trees while you can, because the rate of development in your neighborhood is such that most of those trees won't be there much longer, I suspect. When I drove down Wilson from Boggy Ford, excuse me, to get to this location, I was astounded at the amount of construction on Wilson. There, virtually every house on the street. So we do respect your views, but a view of trees, I suspect, is pretty temporary. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else with a comment?
Well, I know the trees are being cut down left, right, and center, but I don't feel it's fair to have what there will be left taken away from us as well. So. This area already has, there's a standard of all the properties in the area. So just have one that stands out different doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Battle. Anybody else with a comment from the public? No? Okay, it's 7:24 and we'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Anyone have comments? Julie?
Yes, so in the absence of notice comments ahead of tonight's meeting, I wouldn't be able to even have any consideration for Mr. Baston or Mr. Boggs' perspective, because usually when we get those notice comments, I use those comments and very specifically look at the property from their perspective of what their comments are. So I just want to make that comment to the record, because I'm very respectful of our citizens' comments, and can't make my vote tonight to include those comments because I didn't look at it from their property's perspectives. So just want that commented out there.
I guess I'd go back once again and just comment that if we were to approve this, that it would be conditional upon the plans being submitted to Director of Development before it could move forward.
Okay.
Can I
Great.
comment?
Who's that?
Charlie.
Oh, hey, Charlie. Okay.
When I was out there, if the ridgepole is correct, the oak trees around that piece of property are higher than the roof will be. So if there's any blocking of view, it's by those trees. The extra height of the roof is not going to have any impact on that. It's not going to interfere with it. The land there is relatively level. This isn't asking to go up very much higher, and it's not going to interfere with some other view because the trees have already done that. And I think the cedars have already been cleared out. They have left 2 or 3 very large oaks on that property. Thank you.
My concern is that those oaks, I don't believe they're going to stay there because I don't think there's room to even build a house there. There's just no way. So, and the trees I was actually referring to are the ones in behind on the other side of Santa Carlo. And the house is going to completely block that view.
Well, my own opinion is that what he can build by right will block any view since it's on relatively flat land in that area. And, you know, and I'm not sure that, you know, we have a definition of view in in our ordinance, in the zoning ordinance. And I don't think that kind of meets the intent of that definition of what constitutes a view. And so my own opinion is the additional 2 feet is really not going to have that impact, that any different impact than what's allowed by right now.
And but I mean, do we not have to keeping with the rest of the community? I mean, all the other houses are very similar. There are different styles, but they're all of a similar style. This is more of a modern style, like I said, in keeping with somewhere a bit more contemporary, like American Way. It's not really appropriate for this area.
Do we really have any authority on this trying to keep the styles in a neighborhood uniform?
No.
Well, we have some latitude regarding architectural appropriateness, but I don't think that this particular style begins to reach anywhere near that level that we would consider it inappropriate. It's just different.
And the ordinance tends to refer to the architectural context as it relates to height, massing, views, that sort of thing. Not so much the
masonry and
right, not so much the articulation in
right
specifics.
Yeah.
I have one other comment. Is Mr. Zaleski experiencing a health issue? He does not look well.
I think it's just mental.
Well, you're in freeze frame mode.
Yeah, I think your camera froze.
And you do not look well.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Well,
I've been in consultation with my mortician, and I'm supposed to be able to get some movement going here shortly. So
he's apparently pretty far along with his work, and if you hope to reverse that, you should act soon.
If I could get the name of yours, you know, it would probably.
all right.
All right.
Are there any other comments from the commissioners? No? Would anyone like to make a recommendation, make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a recommendation if that's regarding item 21-1826-SP-E, that the Planning and Zoning Commission of Lago Vista grant the special exception from 15 feet to 17.3 feet for the single family residence at 21201 Santa Carlo Avenue, with the condition that the appropriate plans be delivered to the Director of Development prior to any construction of this said structure. How does that sound, Counselor?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have the motion and a second to the motion. Is there any last discussion before we vote? Okay.
I have one other question actually as well.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. we're in deliberation now and voting, so if you'd please. Thank you. All right, I guess I'll just go down the roll and take a roll for the vote. Charles?
Aye. Or
Okay. Gary?
Aye,
Larry?
not with us.
Oh, Larry's not here. Okay. Julie?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, so the motion passes unanimously. All right, agenda item number 2, agenda number 21-1837-R-REZ, consideration of a recommendation regarding a zoning district change from P2 to R4 for the property located at 20806 Bonanza, an undesignated tract of approximately 2.17 acres within Lago Vista, Travis Plaza, and I believe the city is the applicant. Roy, you're on.
Yes, sir. This is a piece of property that the city council declared surplus, offered it for sale. I think they had an offer that they were willing to accept after a little bit of negotiation. And one of the conditions of that sale was that it be rezoned in a manner suitable for the future property owner's use of the property, which I'm pretty sure is a limited number of duplexes. So as a result, either R4 or R2 district will work, I think, equally well for the applicant. Our only tendency was to not introduce a new zoning district that was a little bit unique to the map. And as a result, we advertised both the R4 and the R2 and would leave it up to the discretion of the commission and ultimately the city council as to which one is the most appropriate.
Okay.
There was some mention about this being a park. We searched high and low. That's highly unlikely to be true. The city acquired this property from NRC well after NRC was long gone otherwise. We suspect the reason it was given the park zoning had to do with the fact that it's never been platted. You can't build on it.
Okay. So I have a question with respect to this request, and probably maybe Aaron chime in. There's a local government statute that I've seen in the past that I guess the first part of my question is, just because it's zone P2, is it automatically parkland because of the zoning?
No, Mr. Chair, it's not dedicated parkland. That's the limitation. The city cannot sell dedicated parkland without an election and approval by the voters. But this was never dedicated parkland. It's just a zoning designation, which can be changed without any other action that's needed.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the commissioners to Roy? Richard?
It's not a question exactly, but I would like to say that back when I was president of Keep Lago Vista Beautiful, that land was offered to us to put in a community garden, which is sort of in keeping with the parkland designation. Although it was contingent on at some point water being extended from the end of Lago Vista Way. I'm sorry, not Lago Vista Way, but whatever that street is called that runs in front of City Hall and goes down there and dead ends. just before this property. But that was thought about happening. It was just about the water, and although at that time there was very little development activity in the city, of course, and so it probably didn't seem all that important to anybody.
There are other things that might not be all that favorable for a park. The transmission lines that cross the property and the severe topography might also be a challenge.
Yeah, that drop off was something I worried about. If we made it a community garden, how we could safely handrail that or something, keep gardeners from tumbling down the hill.
Okay. Don?
Yeah, I live very close to this piece of property, and there is water in the street on Clubhouse, or on Bonanza, I mean. So I don't know how that affects what Rich is talking about, but there is water, and
yeah, there is water in several streets
right
around
now.
there.
If you were to take a look at the construction, this particular,
You're cutting out, Don.
I'm fading in and out.
If you maybe turn your camera off, it might work better for you, Don, and your audio might work.
Well, his audio indicates that he's, well, there it goes.
Now I'm back, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
So what was the comment?
Just that we, in order to not have to run hoses across streets and such, we were trying to get the city to actually extend a suitable sized water line from one of those adjacent streets, actually to the property, kind of near the back of those two commercial lots, 20901 and 20817 on our drawing. We were really hoping at that time to get a community garden, and it was not to be. Now I guess it is never to be.
Can I ask a question of Roy?
Yep. Go ahead, Charles.
Roy, there's a lot of multifamily in that area.
Yes, sir.
And as they continue to build, once you get off of Don, it gets very congested. Those streets aren't very wide, and there are no sidewalks.
Right.
So people that are walking back there are at risk of, with the steep hills and everything, getting clobbered by the cars. Is there any way to get sidewalks down in there?
That will be, we can certainly put that to the, Public Works Director at the time, but what I would call to your attention, and once again, the applicant's about to speak, but having been through this process with this particular applicant, there's a lot of economic factors involved that will very much limit the density of this property. One is the extreme expense of moving those high voltage transmission lines. The second is that if he exceeds a subdivision of 4 lots that includes a duplex on each lot, he's going to put himself in a category of having to do a real subdivision with real construction plans and the engineering that goes with it, as well as compliance with the Highland Lakes Watershed Ordinance. So I suspect there's quite a bit of motivation to stay under those limits, which means that it really won't be that dense, even though it's a pretty big piece of property.
but that whole area seems to keep it increasing in density.
Right.
You know,
Right, but what I'm suggesting is this lot probably won't.
okay.
This lot won't have that kind of density, in my opinion, but I mean, the owner could change his mind, but he'll be building a very different product than he's built before.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of Roy before we go on to the applicant?
Yes, I do. Yes, thank you. Roy, you have referred to the owner a couple of times, and I thought the city was the owner. Has the property changed hands?
Purchaser, right, the future owner. And
Purchaser,
Prospective owner.
Yes.
Was this posted for sale and now there's a pending contract? Is that
Yes,
the way this is?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
And the
Okay.
zoning change is a contingency.
Okay. Okay, it's a contract contingency by the would-be owner. Okay.
And he is logged in. So you will have
Okay.
an opportunity to speak to him. He won't be the applicant, but you can still speak to him.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else on the commission have any other questions of Roy? All right, is the applicant or representative ready to give a presentation?
Yes, I'm Rod Courtson and represent Courtson Construction LLC. I'm the managing member of the LLC and I'm the builder as well. Like Roy had said, we're planning on building duplexes in there, and they're probably going to have to be like a two-story, similar to what we've done before. They're in the city, and they're nice units. And this property, the way it's laid out, he's right. It's going to take quite a bit of engineering and dealing with the watershed and things like that. It just depends on what, and it's not laid out really great. So, it's just, we won't really know till we have our engineer take a look at it to see how it's going to lay out. But, we see somewhere maybe 10, 12 units. It could be as high as 24 if the layout and the gully and all that works in there. But I don't know that it's going to do that, just kind of because of the problems like that Roy had talked about, with it's a narrow piece as well. So it's not a real wide piece. So you got 3 street sides to it. So it's going to have to just be laid out well for the traffic and some of the traffic concerns. Some of that'll go on I think it's that Canyon Oaks side or whatever the Canyon side is. Some may be on the Clubhouse side and maybe on Bonanza. There's not much room on Bonanza, but that's a real narrow. It's pretty narrow at the bottom. So I don't know. We haven't laid anything out yet. We're looking to see. We would like to be able to put 2-story units in there like we built. So the R4 would work for that. R2 may not, but that's what we were looking for. So I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that we've built, but there's one right across the street, 2-car garage. That's what we're putting in these things now. We like the 2-car garage, 2-story, about 1,400 square foot units, 3-bedroom, 2-bath units is what we're putting in there.
I'm trying to remember which of those you own everything across and you're building out everything directly across the street on Clubhouse, correct, south of, I guess that's Lago Vista Way, right?
Correct. Yes. There's a white duplex there that's a modern style. That's the duplexes we're currently, using. So a lot of depend on the lay of the land in there and how, once we get into it with the engineer, what'll fit in there, because it may or may not work with the steep grades and, what we're going to have to do with runoff and that kind of thing. But, so I guess 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, anywhere from the low end of 8 units to, I can't see 24, but might see, maybe see 8 duplexes in there total if it worked out all the way across. Once when you get up to that top part, it's pretty steep up there, where you were talking about that drop off. I don't know how we'll deal with that yet, but that's going to be an issue we're going to have to deal with for sure. And of course, we would, we work with Roy on all that and the city on how to make the designs. We want to be, make good looking properties and, make it work. We're not trying to just, pack them in there. Like Roy said, we'd have to do something totally different in there to do that. And we're not prepared for that. We just don't build real high density units.
Well, you surprised me once before how much you got on a piece of land, but I'm betting on myself this time.
Well, we'll try to get as much as we can, but yeah, we want it to work. But we're not looking for like those big multifamily project. That's just, we're not that kind of builder typically.
I have a question.
Is there any questions of the applicant? Oh, Julie, go ahead.
You've mentioned interest in possibly 24 properties, but in the application it says that it would be a maximum of 4 duplex units. Can you clear that up for me, please?
Well, that was my guess. That's not his statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that has to do with the economics of the engineering and stuff. I mean, he can certainly try for more. That was just my guess. That I'm thinking he's going to end up with 4 or 5 lots.
Yeah, we can see, of course, 4 is the easy way for us to divide them. Then you don't have to do all the engineering. But, if we get 6 or 8 lots in there, maybe 5 lots, 6 lots, I don't know. But when you get up towards the Don side, it's pretty steep in there. And that's where it's going to get difficult to build in there. So I don't know. And I don't know how many units. We haven't looked at it yet. We were looking to get, once we got it zoned where we could build on it, then we would take it and, have our engineer look at it. And he's looked at it from the high view, basically looked at it and said, you're going to have water here and there, those issues that Roy's talked about. So we'll have to deal with all that, which will limit and how much we can build there. It's pretty steep runoff and we know that. So we know it could be limited to, 5 or 6 lots. We're good with that. If that's what works out. If we got more in there, then that'd be great too. But that's kind of what we're looking at.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Richard? You're mute.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Cordson, we've only received a couple of comments from neighbors, but in it they talk about in their from their perspective the loss of this as parkland. Related to that, could we kind of count on you to clean up that steeply sloped part of the lot and make it as attractive as possible, both for your property owners and the rest of the community? I would like to see that become part of your development plan.
Absolutely. For us, it's not about just, we try to keep the trees and the land as natural as possible. If you can't, then you do what you have to do. But we're big on, saving the trees, and it's got to look beautiful for our development too. It's if we got people living in there, we want it to be. I think that's part of the beauty of that land is the lay of the land in there. So I'll go to extreme, measures to keep trees and keep it looking pretty in there. That's just part of what we try to do. We're not a clear cut kind of guy, I guess. We don't just come clear cut every tree and go. We bought lots that are like that, and that's not our favorite thing. We prefer to keep even the cedars and keep what's there.
I was sort of approaching from the perspective of the land that the part of the property that you probably will not be able to develop. I was hoping you could sort of go in and clean that up and maybe get something growing in the understory.
Well, absolutely. We would want to do that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
Well, and Mr. Brown, you're hitting on exactly why I don't think it's going to yield that much, because there's a lot of this you really can't build on effectively.
Okay. Is there any other questions of the applicant before going to, Larry?
Thank you. Sorry I was late to the meeting. Just got into town. Question. I know on your application you asked for R4. And I talked to some of the people that live around there, and the number of duplexes, as Mr. Jandro brought up earlier, it's a fairly dense area population-wise. If it's given an R2 versus an R4, just to kind of limit this to a duplex versus a 4 to 6plex, will that heavily impact you?
Well, it's the height restriction then that becomes a problem with, and especially, you know, I could see in there that could be a problem, that you can go the 33-foot height, I guess, in an R4, where I believe the duplex, I haven't built on duplex lot, but I thought it was like 15 or 17 or something was the top on it.
Yeah, it's a little bit lower in the R4, and and same thing in R2. It's like a single family resident type height. You'd have to get special exceptions on all of them.
Yeah, and all our buildings are those 2-story with the modern peaks, so they hit, you know, they're going to hit over that, well over the duplex, but it's still under the R4 height limits.
That might even be more critical on this property to keep the footprint smaller.
Yes, because it's pretty narrow in there, and I think that's what we're going to be based on, is trying to keep those footprints and just go up in height.
Okay. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, it's 7:54 p.m. and we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this issue? I don't see anybody. Okay. It's still 7:54 and I'll close the public hearing. So before we make a recommendation, is there any discussion amongst the commissioners? Richard?
Thank you. I have to say that I prefer the R4 zoning designation for this property. It just looks to me like a much better way for it to be developed than to go with R2.
Okay. Julie, did you have your hand up?
I did, thank you. Is there any possibility that we could approve the R4 with the restriction of it only can be duplexes in that property? So we maintain, we consider the traffic, the density, give them the height variance so that they can build give them the additional height so that they can build their intended duplexes like they have across the street, which are very attractive and fits really well. To Richard's point with the topography of the area, could we make that type of a restriction if we approve the R4?
I think that's an Aaron question.
For zoning applications, I want to look back. I'm looking at our ordinance itself, the language, to see. Typically for, example, PDDs or something, you can put in other restrictions, and typically you can also include recommendations in your recommendation that the uses be limited, but.
And let me add this, Aaron. Remember, our ordinance requires that if he builds anything other than duplexes, he's got to come back for design review.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can stop him from doing anything other than duplexes, but if he does, he's coming back to you, and you're going to have an opportunity to have input on the design, like you would a commercial property.
Yeah. Because
Roy, would you clear that up? Why is it true that if he built something other than duplexes, he'd have to come back? R4 doesn't limit him to just duplexes.
Right.
No, but multifamily or commercial, does require design review.
Oh, if he did
If he
multifamily,
does anything other than 1 or 2 family, he's coming back with the design review like you've done a few times in the past.
so a fourplex is multifamily.
Yep.
Du-
3 or
duplex
more.
requires
3 or more.
3 or more? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for a residential zoning, if you're gonna, I'm sorry, for R4 zoning, if they're going straight, there are hours. So I want to make sure we're kind of all on the same page. The request is being made by the city of Lago Vista. We're requesting to have it rezoned to R4. So any limitations that you include would not be directly applicable to them because the zoning request is the city's request. And we're requesting R4 zoning, which would allow for a multitude of different uses. But I think the key thing is what Roy just brought to your attention, in that if they do anything that's of commercial nature, they will have to go through that additional design review. And so there will be additional scrutiny and opportunity for review of the property at a different level. But that at that point, it would be Mr. Cordson as the applicant and not the city.
Okay. Any other discussions from any other members? If not,
I'll
anyone
make a
want to
recommendation.
make a recommendation? Gary?
Recommend regarding item 211837-R-REZ to Planning and Zoning Commission of Lago Vista, recommend to the City Council of Lago Vista zoning district change from P2 to R4 multifamily residential for property located at 20806 Bonanza Street and undesignated tract of approximately 2.17 acres within the Lago Vista Travis Plaza.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Charles has made a second. Is there any discussion, further discussion amongst the commission? Okay, I'll call roll for a vote. Charles?
Aye.
Okay. Gary?
Aye.
Larry? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Julie? Oh, you can only vote once.
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Don? Don?
Aye.
Uh-oh, he's froze up again. Can you wiggle a finger or something? I don't know. Can you? Aye? Okay, I think he said yes. He read his lips.
Aye.
His microphone turned off too.
All right, and I also vote aye. So it's the motion is passed unanimously, and we'll move forward.
Thank you.
Now.
All right. Item number 3, agenda item 21-1836-CO-U, consideration of a recommendation regarding a conditional use permit pursuant to section 17 of chapter 14 to allow for a prefabricated accessory building with a dissimilar roof from the principal building and located within the required rear yard setback at 20308 Rock Park Lane. Roy, you want to review the technical summary?
Yes, sir. This lot has a little bit of a strange geometry, and as a result, it has a little bit of a strange rear yard setback. Whereas that might not normally be a problem, you've got some pool equipment in there that kind of restricts what they can do with that building. As a result, it really only has any significant impact regarding the setback for one property owner that's a vacant lot. I think it's number 18 that would be impacted a little bit. And invariably, it seems like every time we've got, one application that involves or impacts only one property owner, we never get a response from that property owner, and that we didn't this time either. You know, the staff's biggest concern, and it may or may not be a concern of the applicant, because they probably weren't aware of the requirement, but it has more to do with the, you know, lack of similarity of the roof style. You know, the staff would be much happier if they picked one that, you know, kind of matched at least the geometry of the house. But, you know, they have the right to ask for that relief from you, and we did advertise that relief. So I will leave that discussion between you and the applicant.
Okay. Are there any questions of Roy before we hear from the applicant? No? Okay. Is the applicant present to?
I do have a question for Roy, please.
Okay, Richard.
I'm sorry. I was trying to read his notes and also trying to figure out what he had just said. At this time, since we are unable to restrict materials, even though the ordinance used to say that materials of an accessory building should substantially match the primary residence. Once the materials on the primary residence have been established, why isn't it appropriate for us to be able to say that the materials of the accessory building should match?
But the statute says, and there's nothing wrong with writing that. It prohibits us from enforcing it is the problem. And you know, as a result, we happen to be amending it, so we took it out. But the end result was, at the end of the day, we would have to issue the permit regardless. And we had hopes that would disappear, but it did not. I don't think it did. Did you hear, Aaron?
No, it's the prohibition is still in place.
Anybody else? All right.
But you can require anything that doesn't involve specificity of materials. Anything else is fair game.
So you settled, if in your comments, you settled on the architecture of the roof.
And the colors.
And the roof colors.
Well, and the siding colors is in the ordinance as well. There's no prohibition against colors.
Thank you.
Okay. Is the applicant present to?
Yes.
Please state your name and address, please.
And Angela and Ben Marshall, 20308 Rock Park Lane.
Okay. And can you give us what your ideas are behind what you're doing?
Yeah, so it's Tough Shed is the manufacturer, so we're sort of limited on roof pitch and style. The material and the color of the shingles do match, as well as the color materials for the siding. The purpose for the building is due to COVID. Both my husband and I have been working from home, and both of our companies have decided that that's going to be a permanent situation. They're no longer going to have in-office personnel. And so because of that, we're needing to make space to create a more permanent and functional work-life situation here with our two children and both of us working full-time from home. And so the shed is to try and get stuff out of the house. So that way we can convert the room that is currently being used basically as storage into a home office. And because of the swimming pool and the pool equipment, there's not any other location on the property that we can pool sorry, that we can put that building, and it's also for storage for our pool equipment.
Okay. Have you, I think I said you're buying this as through Home Depot or something?
No, it's going to be built on site by Tough Shed.
Okay. Don't they have different roof styles besides the dormer roof?
They do, but with this size of shed, this is really the only.
No, the reason of the roof style is it gives an extra space for storage on the top level. The other, I guess, more normal roof styles, just the normal triangle style, wouldn't give us that extra storage space.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions of the applicant? And the commission? No? Okay. After that, I'll open the public hearing at 8:08 p.m. Is there anyone in the public that has any comments for this issue? I don't see anybody. Okay, so it's still 8:08, and so I will close the public hearing and open this up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Comments, anyone? Well, I guess somebody, Julie?
I was just going to make the comment that they've obviously invested in their property with the addition of the pool. That's quite an investment, as we all know, to build a pool here in Texas, Texas. So I would assume that with that commitment to enhancing their property, they probably would not want to put something there that was unattractive. And it seems that they also went and gained a lot of approval, and they sought the approval and gained a lot of commitment from their neighbors to say that they were in support of it. So I think it's a well put in package or request.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Richard?
I know that this building line on the back is kind of an unusual aspect of the lot, in that the pool can go into the building line, but the building itself should not encroach. And it really doesn't make any difference to me that it does, because the impact on the side lot is going to be just about as great as anyway. If they move the building forward, it's an unfortunate situation.
Okay. All right. All right, I guess I just had a comment that just from her, at the end of the technical summary, we recommended one of three choices. I'm guessing from the discussion and no one really having issues with that roof is that I guess I personally would be in favor of recommendation A with conditions 2 and 3 versus condition 1. But that's all I have to say as we else want to go to that discussion. If not, I guess.
I'm sorry, would you restate that? You are in favor of A with conditions 2 and 3? Is that correct? But we're assuming that the barn roof, the gambrel, is insurmountable because they've chosen a vendor for whom it's insurmountable. Is that correct?
Well, I haven't heard much argument against it, so, and I think
That's not what I heard the applicant say. I heard the applicant say that this particular model affords them another level of storage is the reason for this dissimilar roof.
Okay.
That's, I'll say that's true, although I guess that they could have, I think the height of the building that they've selected is only about 13 feet. And I guess they could build something that looks a little bit more like their house and the neighborhood that was maybe 15 feet tall and also accomplish that sort of upstairs storage. But I've not been able to make up my mind about this, and I haven't now, having heard the discussion.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion if no one else will. For agenda item 21-1836-CO-U, requesting the conditional use permit for a prefab accessory building with a dissimilar roof at 20308 Rock Park Lane. I make a motion that we recommend City Council approve the permit with two conditions using from the technical summary recommendation A with conditions 2 and 3. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have Gary's seconded. So is there any discussion? If not, I'll call roll for a vote. Charles?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye. Oh,
Larry?
Aye.
Okay, Julie?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Got him to commit. Okay, good.
Aye.
Okay. And here's a unanimous, so motion carries. All right. Agenda item 4. Sorry, that's my phone going off. Item 4, agenda item 21-1839-CO-U, consideration of a recommendation for a conditional use permit pursuant to section 17 of chapter 14, to allow for an accessory building that exceeds 50% of the floor area of the principal building and also with a dissimilar roof at 20501 Sunset Lane. Roy, your staff presentation.
Well, you might think I intentionally put these next to each other on the agenda so I wouldn't have to say as much, but that's not true. They really did fall that way. Again, these people own basically 6 lots, and this accessory building is going on what was a separate lot from the principal residence. And as a result, you know, it does not have the appearance of being on the same lot. But again, you know, the staff concern is, you know, the requirement that it have certain amount of similarity, you know, notwithstanding the materials, to the principal residence. And that is by far our biggest concern.
Okay. So you mentioned in this case, there's talking about the height, and there seems to be a lack of information on what the height is in there in what we have in the packet. I didn't see any reference to what the height was. So,
there isn't, and I don't think there's a problem, but you know, I did have a conversation with the applicants, and they're aware that, you know, they're going to have to, if it doesn't meet the height requirements when they apply for a building permit, and that documentation will have to be part of that permit application, that they'll have to come back with a special exception approval. And they looked at it and they said they don't think that's true. And you know, without perfect data, you know, I don't have a topographic survey, but I did look at, you know, what the best data I had. And the house, even though it's 20 feet tall, you know, from the grade or more, it doesn't appear to be more than 18 from the high point of the lot. So, but they do understand that the limit is the height of the house or what the zoning ordinance allows, the shorter of those two. So basically they've got to build something that complies with that, or they'll be back with you with a special exception application.
but isn't the way the ordinance is for the conditional use permits, all those things have to be considered for the conditional use permit. And if we don't know, we can't confirm what the height is going to be, then we don't have all the information to grant a permit.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a concern of yours, but what they said is they're asking for an approval today that is within those parameters that they're now aware of.
Okay.
I had the same concern you did. I didn't want them going in blind. And I did talk to them and send an email, and they confirmed, they say, no, we think this is not going to be, you know, notwithstanding what the drawings, you know, may imply, they think they're going to meet the criteria.
I guess to me, that barn roof design kind of puts pressure on the height.
Well, it does, and it's got quite a bit of volume for a single story structure.
Uh-huh. Okay. Anybody else have questions of Roy?
I do.
Richard?
Thank you. Roy, you mentioned and then kind of discounted the issue about the size of the accessory building relative to the primary residence, and chose to say, well, it looks like it's on another lot, even though it's not on another lot, because they have indeed been put together. Why should, in your mind, why should the commission do that? Do what you just did and say, well, it's okay to build such a big building on the same lot, even though the ordinance says you cannot?
Well, it doesn't say you cannot. It says this board and the city council has to approve it.
There you go.
But having said that, I think we covered this in discussions before. The underlying basis, and now explicitly in this ordinance, has to do with the appearance. So if you put an excessively large piece of property on a single lot that looks like a single lot and is not extremely large, it's going to be awful crowded. You're going to have something that looks a little unusual. But you remember the double frontage lot? where you had a residence that was on the opposite side and it looked like it was just another house?
Over on Surrey, yeah.
Yes, sir. Surrey Lane and Sagebrush Trail. That's the notion. If it looks like it no different from any other single family residence, you know, that's the desired outcome, so to speak. And this is at least has it's moving in that direction. You follow me?
Yeah, and
it looks like a siding for a single family residence on a lot in this area.
And another similarity with the Surrey Lane project is that gentleman also had, I don't know, maybe four lots, mostly over on Sagebrush, I think, but I think he had about 4 lots over there. So
and even though only 5 of these are put together, the property owner does own all 6.
One that's not consolidated with the other 5.
That one that's shown on the site plan is a separate address. That's their property too.
Did that site respond favorably to the application, I hope?
I don't believe they sent something in, but no.
There's a missed opportunity. Okay.
Can I make an observation? When you look at the floor plan, this is another house with a very large garage. And this seems to be a home. Is there not an accessory building? Why don't those restrictions that apply to building homes apply to this?
Well, most of them do, but not all of them.
Well, in support of Charles' comment, there certainly is very much less documentation available for the commission to consider compared to a construction of a new single-family residence.
I would not disagree with that. Scale drawings, with dimensions on them for the heights. We got pretty complete floor plans, but the building elevations were like I said, they were of the condition that we decided we better contact the property owner and make sure they understood what they could and could not get in this application.
Right, isn't it true that if this is an accessory building, they cannot install separate utilities in that building either, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
If they wanted this thing metered separately, they'd have to go back and split it back into a different lot.
Okay. All right. Okay, anybody else have comments or questions for Roy? All right. Is the applicant present?
We're here.
Yes, we're here.
Go ahead. Do you want to talk about your project a little bit? Whatever.
So we're just, we have a lot of property with not a lot of storage. The whole purpose of the garage, we have a single car garage in the existing house that was built in 77, which, we can't even get our boat in there. We can't use, it's not functional. So the other part of this was we were trying to stay within the guidelines of the smaller living quarters, because we're going to use it for his mom to stay in because she's independent but elderly. And, when she passes, we're thinking of an office. We're just trying to accommodate. We originally thought we would build on National, but then that house would be too big for her. And then we were trying to stay into the half of the dimensions of the existing house to meet the building stuff. And the housing size. So we came up with a 1 building solution, because then we were building 2 buildings. We're losing our green space, which we were trying to preserve. you know, because if we built a house on National, then we'd have to be in a different square footage. Then we were going to go back and get another garage to put our boat and stuff in. Then we would have another building. And we just want to keep the integrity of the lot because we love the area.
Okay. Well, and Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, they bring up a point that is in the staff report that may be glossed over. If this house or this accessory building were split up into two pieces and both of them resembled the house, we would permit it without it coming.
Oh. We thought that would be worse just because we'd have to take out trees and then, you know, meters and build more foundation and more expense and all that. That's why we kind of went with this consolidated idea, this, you know, we're just trying to accommodate a bunch of things here. Most cost effectively and keep the green space. Because we don't intend on building on the lot behind us. We're just keeping it because it is too close to the other house to build another house.
Okay.
All righty. Sorry, I've been locked up for a while. I didn't hear anything for.
I was locked up myself.
Oh,
Me too.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yes.
Roy, would you say all of that again, please?
Yes, sir. I was reminding I didn't make a big deal out of it in the staff report, but if they had a building that resembled the roof and colors of their existing residence, split it up into two buildings rather than one, we would have to permit that because it meets the requirements of the ordinance. And that's what I was getting at in appearance is like I said, if that's okay, you know, the idea is, does it look normal on this lot is the real criteria.
Yes, so that's building.
well, we could make it look normal for the lot. We're open to matching and making it fit in to preserve the integrity of the space, because if we start putting all these buildings, then we lose a lot more green space.
And that was the purpose of the comment. Would you really like it better if it were three buildings on this property rather than two?
No.
You know, it seems to me if this looked more like the house, there wouldn't be any issues whatsoever except the size. With this large a lot, the size even kind of slides away.
Yeah, it's a flat
this is a lot of property.
Yeah. Is there a reason for the barn style roof versus the one that would match the house?
No, it was just basic design. What the process we're going through here is we're trying to get the size and the combination of this building passed first. Then we were going to take it to the architect, have them match everything to the existing house, including the height, the design, all that, make it look the way it's supposed to look within your parameters.
So
we're pretty open to that.
So we're trying to follow steps here to, you know, instead of going 2 steps ahead and coming back one.
Yeah. But if it looked less like a barn and more like a house, it'd be great.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
all right, that's good to hear.
But if we can get this passed at this point, then we can get to the architect and say, okay, this is what you guys recommended or what we need to get done. Then we can come back and say that, you know, then we can get you approved the whole thing. And I don't know if that can be done in the permit stage or what. I'm not sure.
You guys can create the conditions to require that.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant before we go to the hearing?
Yes.
Richard.
Thank you. Folks, is your house as big as this? This is not contingent on approval. This is just for my information. This is 2,100 square feet approximately. Is your house that big?
It's bigger,
It's a little
20,
bigger.
24 something.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I was just wondering.
And it's a 2-story house, and this is a single-story house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We didn't have any information about the dimensions of your house. I was just kind of looking at the footprint.
Oh.
And I could not tell that it was. I couldn't tell that it was 2-story. I'd forgotten
That's what the steep
that.
roof is about, Mr. Brown.
Sir?
It's a very steep roof, so that it can have a partial second floor under that gable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a staircase in the drawing if you see there in the middle of the house.
Well, and the size data in this case, I got it from TCAD, from the appraisal.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I guess at this point, we'll open the public hearing at 8:33. And I think Ms. Van Ness had sent me a note that she'd like to make some comments, so you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, well, first off, we were on vacation for close to 3 weeks, and so we didn't have a chance to receive the notice until yesterday. Otherwise, I would have written in some comments, 7 days ahead of time. So I just wanted to make sure I was on the meeting tonight. We live directly across the street from Don and Deb's property, and actually directly across the street from the location of the new building. And overall, would comment favorably on it, in favor of it. I think some of our concerns were how close it would be to Sunset Lane, and it looks like they're going to offset it and have it even further back than the primary residence, the primary structure. And then the other concern was, as Deb was saying, to retain the trees that back onto National, because they provide a really important visual and sound barrier from a fairly busy road into our neighborhood. And so their proposal looks like it's going to meet those conditions, and as Deb said, preserve some of the green space and the trees, which is always a plus. I have to admit, it's a little bit bigger than we thought it would be. The footprint of the new building is bigger than the actual footprint of the primary structure, but it's fulfilling the needs that they've articulated, the garage space, and then obviously the really noble objective of having a place for Don's mom to live where she can still be somewhat independent but be supported. So we get all that. The only potentially negative comment I'd have is what you guys have already discussed, is the look and feel concerns. The design is presented as a barn style roof line, and it just doesn't match with their primary structure or with any of the other homes in the neighborhood. So that would be the only comment I'd have for consideration, is to make sure that look and feel and that roof line are more consistent with what's in the neighborhood. So that's really the only negative I'd have to say about it.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, any other comments from the public? All right, if there's none, I will close the public hearing at 8:35 p.m. and I'll open it for discussion amongst the commissioners. I have a comment to start with. That's all right. I think I am in favor of this this application of approving it. And again, I would refer to Roy's technical summary at the end, is potential recommendations. I think I would be in favor of A, 1 and 2, so that use a gable roof to match the house versus the barn style roof, and that the colors and stuff are compatible with the house as well. So that's kind of my thoughts. Anybody else?
I agree with you, Tom. The applicant has clearly expressed a desire to comply with the comments that we've expressed tonight. If the commission wants to, we could make the approval contingent on that in the manner that Gary did with an earlier application. But given the grounds that we have for restricting that sort of thing. I'm not sure that we should do that, and we should just let the applicant deal with the development office on that. So I'm with you on A, 2 and 3. Or 1.
Yeah, you wanted to- you didn't give us a third option, so. I'll good at that. Anybody else? Anybody who want to entertain a motion? If not, I will. For agenda item 21-1839-CO-U, I make a motion that Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the conditional use permit to City Council with the conditions stated in the technical summary. Condition A, recommend approval of the application subject to 1 and 2. 1 has to do with the roof and 2 has to do with the colors and finish of the exterior materials. So with those conditions, that's my motion.
Second.
Is that Charles? Okay.
Yes.
And seconded by Charles. Any further discussion? All right. I'll take roll. Charles?
Aye.
Gary, I think he had to drop off.
Aye.
So Larry?
Aye.
Aye. Julie? Aye. Richard?
Aye.
Don? Aye. And I vote aye as well. So it's another unanimous decision, and we shall move on.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right,
All right, I gotta my agenda here. All right, I guess next on the agenda, what we've all been waiting for is any comments from our esteemed City Council liaison, Mr. Williams.
Good evening. How are you? The only comment I would have is that I would request that applicants in the future be able to provide the necessary information so that you don't have to come with you still may come with conditions, but if you're asking for a height, you need to show the height. If you're asking for the structure of the house to be a certain material, it should reflect what you're asking for. So I'm asking applicants in the future to please provide the necessary information that Development Services needs in order to give the commission the information that they need. That's the only comment I have. Any questions from any of the commissions people?
I guess I have a question not related to that specifically. Have you presented the update on the comp plan that the review we did on our status? Has that been reviewed?
It's happening on the 17th.
On the 17th?
Yes.
And do we have a new city manager?
It's in the works.
In the works? Okay.
Do we know what the population is?
Still waiting on the census.
Okay.
You know,
Don't hold your breath.
They seem to be delaying the process here.
Okay.
What are our chances of meeting in public together next month?
I missed the question, Larry.
Oh.
Can we have a regular meeting?
What are the chances of a regular meeting, not virtual, next month?
Aaron gave me the thumbs up that it's looking pretty good.
Fantastic.
The council meeting is going to be a hybrid meeting still though, right? With only the council present?
No,
On
sir.
the 17th?
No, sir. The council meeting agenda was posted today as an in-person meeting.
Good.
It's live.
The unclean, the riffraff, anybody who just wanders in the door now, huh? Okay.
Come
Have
one,
you
come
got your
all.
shots yet, Richard?
Yes,
Okay, then you can come.
I have 2 Modernas.
So,
I've had mine too. I want to wear dog tags that say that.
will our special meeting later in the month also be in person then? I think
Hope
we have.
so.
No, that's already been advertised as a virtual.
Oh, okay.
And actually, the one I sent today was advertised as a virtual. I didn't get this message, so I'm gonna have to try and get an ad amended.
You mean the posting for the council meeting, Roy?
Well, I don't know if my newspaper ad says it, but it might, whether it's in person or virtual. And like I said, I'm just hearing about the July meeting being in person the way you are.
Okay.
In fact, I worked on a draft agenda that assumed it was virtual.
I'll be live, Roy.
All right.
All right. Moving on to our consent agenda. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes to approve. And I'm sure you've all diligently read through them 2 or 3 times. So I guess I'll just ask for an up or down vote as to whether you approve the minutes from January 28th and February 11th. And is there any reason? So I guess I'll just go down the list for approving the consent agenda. Charles?
Approve.
Okay. Gary's not here. Larry?
Aye.
Approve. Julie?
Approved.
Yeah. Richard?
I have not read the minutes and will not vote.
Okay. Don?
Approve.
And I approve. So it's 5 votes aye and 1 abstention. All right. Future agenda items. I guess, Roy, can you just give us a preview of our next meeting, our special meeting?
Extremely long. I did my best to balance the agendas. We didn't do so great in that regard. We've got more items on the future agenda. 2 of them, however, are ordinance amendments. And if it reaches the point where you guys are a little wore out, you can always defer and continue those to the following month. But 2 of the, I believe it's 8 items that we have. One of them is the thoroughfare plan, and the other one is the land use assumptions for the impact fee update. And those are both kind of important to keep on schedule for those. So those are 2 important things that are coming up in your forthcoming meeting.
And just to add to that, we have to go in and take a note for being on that, whatever.
Yeah, if several of you should have been sworn into that already, but all you newbies probably haven't been.
I've been on this almost 5 years and I don't remember ever doing it.
I think the last one was in 2016.
Oh, that's why. So
you weren't talking about being sworn in general. It's specific to this one, Roy, that we need to go do?
Right. It's the Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Even though you're the same guys, it's technically a separate committee.
Okay, I'll get on that. I didn't understand that correctly. Thank you.
Same here.
We'll have a full boat of people that can swear you in next week.
I definitely recall having participated. I'm sorry, Julie. Please go ahead.
I was being silly saying, no, I want somebody to meet me there tomorrow. Just kidding, because it's a 4-day work.
Roy, I definitely participated in that 2016 meeting. Does that mean I probably got sworn in? Because I do not recall that.
Well, we'll pretend you did.
Okay, I will as well.
I don't think I did.
I'll add that to my dog tags when I get them made.
I
like Charles' idea.
And you need a collar to go with it.
I'm not a collar kind of guy.
Mr. Chairman, we'll double check who's been sworn in and who hasn't. It's never a bad idea to be double sworn in if you want to make sure to be sworn in again. But we can look for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I never have.
Okay.
All right. And what, you said something about ordinances too, Roy?
Well, the two you've been working on, and like I said, if those need to drop off, that's fine. We can just continue those public hearings.
All right. So you're talking about the fences and the
The
variances?
variance criteria. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Anyone else have anything for future agenda items? I guess I wouldn't call it an agenda item necessarily, but sort of a future to, I brought this up once before, but never seemed to happen on these public hearing packages where we have the public hearing and the properties. There's a map that shows the 200-foot radius and the number of the properties, but those are always 3 or 4 maps above the comments. It would sure be nice, at least in my opinion, if that map immediately preceded the comments, so I can refer back to it easier.
No problem at all. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Just a little nitpicking there, but.
On a related note, I would really appreciate it if the pages could be numbered. It makes it so much easier for me to talk to my printer.
Yeah. The only problem might be with that, and as you guys know, Ms. Van Ness mentioned the 7-day deadline, with the mail service in Lago. We've never enforced that. You gotta, we had one as late as an hour and a half before the meeting that got added. It gets, as long as you don't mind those not being numbered,
No, that's fine.
I guess that the problem with that will be my printer will count the pages. It doesn't actually read the numbers. And so those late arrivals would have to just be added at the end of the whole packet rather than right next to the relative agenda item. And that may not serve the commission's need.
If it's important, I mean, we can renumber them, but it adds significant amounts of time to renumber of pages in Adobe that way.
Yeah, I think the page is already numbered when you have a PDF viewer open, so you just refer to the PDF page numbers. At least that's what I do.
I do not see those numbers, Tom. I don't know what's different about what you're doing and what I'm doing, but I do not see numbers in page numbers in our packet.
It's and we can create them in Adobe, and the problem is they're not intelligent. When you add a page in the middle, it doesn't automatically renumber it like it would in Word.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll just try to make whatever copies I need before you start putting those late arrivals in.
Right. And we can.
Then I can rely on the page numbers if you would do that. And in addition, if I ask my machine to print page 38 and I don't get what I want, I can adjust appropriately and get what I want.
Well, and
But that's a lot easier than what I've been doing.
If you'll get Alice to print it like Mr. Zaleski does, we can instruct her to print it with the page numbers as of that point in time.
Yeah, and that's what I do. It would help me because I'm always dropping it and the pages go everywhere.
I just
So
need
they're never in order.
I just need to show her how to do that. That won't be a problem.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Whatever you can do will be appreciated. And I'm not going to beat the other horse anymore on the minutes.
Okay. If there are no other future agenda items, then I'm going to pound my gavel and this meeting is adjourned
8:53.
at 8:53.
Have a good weekend, everybody.